What is good, Raider Nation? Is your boy Raider Alex back with yet another video for you guys. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, let's jump right into the topic of this video. As you can see with the thumbnail, today we're going to be talking about Malcom Koonce and the latest news surrounding his injury. And look, there's no way around it. This is a tough blow for the Raiders and for Malcom Koonce in general. It was reported yesterday that defensive end Malcom Koonce will miss the remainder of the 2024 regular season. Malcom Koonce sustained a non-contact knee injury prior to week 1 and was put on IR. It was initially expected that he might be out a month or so, but yesterday NFL insider Jordan Schultz reported that he will miss the remainder of the season, and this is a huge blow for the Raiders, and this is also devastating news for a young guy like Malcom Koonce who broke out last season. And I'm sure the thought process for him and his agent was that Malcom Koonce was going to come into the season motivated, prepared, and looking to replicate or even surpass the great season he had in 23. And if he could have done that, I mean, the defensive end position, the edge rusher position, and the NFL is so highly valued. So if he could have done that, you're talking about a guy that could have easily got 20 million plus a year type of contract. And with this injury, that's very likely not going to happen for him. So devastating news for Malcom Koonce. Hoping and praying for a speedy recovery for him. But with this news, this leaves a huge void at the opposite side of Maxx Crosby at the defensive end position that I think the Raiders should consider making some moves to fill the absence of Malcom Koonce. The current situation now with Koonce going down is the Raiders have inexperienced pass rushers in Janarius Robinson, Tyree Wilson, and Charles Snowden on the roster, alongside with superstar edge rusher Maxx Crosby. And I guess the question is, will this unit be good enough? I do understand that next man mentality mindset, but let's be honest, I do not think it's going to be easy to replace the 8 sacks and 3 forced fumbles that Malcom Koonce generated last season, and not to mention all the quarterback pressures he caused. He absolutely came to life in the second half of the season last year, and he was a huge part of why this defense was able to go from a solid unit at the first half of the season last year into one of the best units ever since Antonio Pierce took over last season. We were ranked number 1 in the whole National Football League in terms of points allowed per game, and Malcom Koonce was a huge part in that. He was also a huge reason into why the Raiders made things so difficult for Patrick Mahomes last season on the road on that Christmas Day matchup, and ultimately why the Raiders got the victory. The combination of Koonce and Crosby made Patrick Mahomes run for his life that whole night. And with the Raiders acquiring interior pass rusher Christian Wilkins, we were all super excited to see this 3-headed monster on the defensive line, but unfortunately we're not going to be able to do that. So today I just want to talk about the possible options the Raiders could look at the edge rusher position. As it stands, with us already being into the regular season too, it makes it a little bit difficult. There's not going to be a whole lot of great options out there, but let's get into the first option, and that is to trade for edge rusher Hassan Reddick. The New York Jets and Hassan Reddick do not appear to be close on a contract agreement, and according to reports, people that know Hassan Reddick well believe that the pass rusher could be willing to sit out the entire season. So I think the New York Jets are definitely going to be open to hearing out trade offers from other teams. And while Hassan Reddick would likely demand a new contract before agreeing to any type of trade, he still has a lot of value as he is a very good player at his position. The 29-year-old edge rusher recorded double-digit sacks in each of the past 4 seasons and has 27 sacks and 49 quarterback pressures over the last 2 seasons. So the production is there from a guy like him. If the Raiders are trying to create a monster on that defensive line, this could be the move to consider. Now, I do think this would be the most unlikely option for the Raiders to make this happen, as it's going to be the most difficult one, as you are going to have to give up some significant draft capital. I don't know if you necessarily got to give up like a first-round pick or anything like that, but you're definitely not going to get him for like a 4th-round pick or anything like that. And the biggest thing is he wants a new contract. He wants to get paid. Now, the Raiders do have a healthy amount of money available in the cap salary. We currently have $27 million in cap space, but very likely we're going to be using a majority of that to re-sign a lot of our young players. We got players like Nate Hobbs that are due for a contract, Robert Spillane, Marcus Epps, Trayvon Merrick. So I do think Tom Telesco is going to prioritize bringing those guys back on the defense. And we also got Malcom Koonce, who, although he's going to miss the entire season, I would not be shocked if Antonio Pierce and Patrick Graham want him for the future. He's still a very young pass rusher, so I definitely believe we're going to try to sign him long term. So although this trade would be nice to think about and it would get fans super excited, I think this is more of a win now type of move for a franchise. I think this is the type of move that a team will make that feels like they're a legit pass rusher away from potentially winning the Super Bowl. And I don't really think the Raiders are in that scenario. I mean, I guess if they go in a roll right now, if they end up going 4-1 or something like that, maybe they consider something like this. But ultimately, like I said, I think this is the most unlikely option for the Raiders. This would also be a super aggressive move from our general manager, Tom Telesco. And I just don't really see Telesco being willing to make such a bold move like this, especially as his first season as the general manager, but definitely an option to consider. And the second option I wanted to talk about is an edge rusher from the New York Giants. Now, I'm probably going to butcher this name, but it is Azeez Ojulari, edge rusher from the New York Giants. Now, the Giants would very likely entertain offers for Ojulari as he is going to be a free agent in 2025. His contract is expiring. And with the Giants situation, they got Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns now leading the pass rush for their defense. So Ojulari simply doesn't have a critical role in the defensive game plan for the Giants. And what I like about him is he's still a young player. The 2021 second round draft pick, had 8 sacks as a rookie. He had another 5.5 sacks in 2022. And in general, he recorded 56 quarterback pressures in 35 games before he became an afterthought for this defensive unit for the Giants. So another thing to mention is he did spend a year under defensive coordinator Patrick Graham when he was the DC for the New York Giants. So maybe a little bit of familiarity there. I could be reaching there, but he technically did have his best season under Patrick Graham as a rookie in 2021. And like I said, this would be a very intriguing option in my opinion. It seems more likely that we target a player like him via trade than a guy like Hassan Reddick, because if we went after him via trade, it should not take a lot of draft capital to get him. You very likely could get him for like a 4th rounder, something like that, as he is going to be a free agent this season, so he's not going to have a whole lot of value. But it could also be a very low risk, high reward type of scenario for the Raiders, as he still is a very young pass rusher. He has some upside. His rookie season he had 8 sacks, and we have avoided the position, and it would be a good situation to entertain, because if you trade for him, let's say he doesn't pan out, he doesn't become the starter, well, that's fine. We can just let him walk in 2025 as a free agent, and then we can bring back Malcom Koonce. Or if he has a good season for us, then you consider re-signing him. So this would be a win-win situation for the Raiders in my opinion. I think he's definitely a player that we should keep on the radar, and that general manager Tom Telesco should consider making a phone call to the Giants, seeing what it would take to make this type of move. Now, the last option I wanted us to consider is via the free agent market. Now, for the free agency market at the edge rusher position, the options aren't great, but the top available player at the defensive end position is a former Raider in Yannick Ngakoue. Yannick Ngakoue was with the Raiders in 2021 under Gus Bradley, and he had a very good season for us in terms of getting after the quarterback. He had 10 sacks, and it was a really good tandem with Max Crosby. Now, the only issue with Yannick Ngakoue is he is a one-dimensional edge rusher. He's not very good against the run. For him being a free agent, I mean, you'd kind of bring him in as more of a situational pass rusher. 2021 was a long time ago, but when he was here, he had a really good season. And I think the Raiders definitely may consider making the call to Yannick Ngakoue and potentially consider kicking the tires on him for one last season. Like I said, it would very likely be bringing him in more as a situational guy on third down to get after the quarterback. The Raiders currently have been struggling against the run, so I definitely don't think he would be a 3-down starter on the edge. Yannick Ngakoue had 4 sacks with the Bears last season, but a lot of people do think he may be slipping as he is approaching the age of 30. But as a free agent, I mean, you can't get more low risk than this. And it definitely could be a player that the Raiders end up considering. But overall, Raider Nation, I don't think the Raiders should be super desperate trying to fulfill this void with Malcom Koonce. I think they still have some time to consider what's going to be the best option for this team moving forward. It's not like we've been a terrible unit, but I definitely think it's a position that we should consider bringing in someone else. As I mentioned earlier, it definitely is a big blow. The Raiders defense so far is good, but I definitely thought if we could get Malcom Koonce back on the football field at some point, and if he could recover that type of play that he had last season, the Raiders could legitimately be a top 5, top 3 level unit. Now, they still could end up being that type of defense. We're just going to have to progress and evolve. We're going to have to fix our issues against the run, and we are going to have somebody step up to the plate on the opposite side of Max Crosby and be able to consistently get to the quarterback, whether that be one specific player stepping up as the 3-down starter or a mixture of Tyree Wilson, Charles Snowden, Janarius Robinson, however it may be. But the Raiders need to have a legit presence on the opposite side of Max Crosby. I mean, and if you're talking about Tyree Wilson, I mean, this is also a huge opportunity for him to step up to the plate and kind of show why we selected him so early in the first round in 2023. Now, my only concern with Tyree Wilson, though, is he doesn't look like he's really took a significant step forward in terms of his development as a pass rusher. I mean, he's still a freak of nature. He's still super strong, but it's very hard to have continuous success as an edge rusher when you're one-dimensional. And so far, that's what I see with Tyree Wilson. He's super reliant on the bull rush. He hasn't really developed any type of spin move, any type of push and pull type of move. He isn't great with his hands. So that's my concern with Tyree Wilson. I honestly see him as a better option in the interior of this defense. But there's no doubt this is a big blow for the Raiders defense, and we'll just have to see how they end up adjusting moving forward in the regular season. But Raider Nation, I definitely want to get your guys' feedback on this topic right here. Who do you think we should target after hearing the news of the Malcom Koonce injury? Let me know in that comment section down below. But with that being said, Raider Nation, that's all for you guys in today's video. Anybody that's new to the channel, you guys love Raider related content just like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel. That being said, I will see you guys in the next one.